Hello, humans. Welcome to the podcast 10 Minutes with a Stranger. We hope you enjoy.
Now, there we are. So, hi, André, and very, very welcome to this little podcast dialogue interview on meeting new people and connecting with new people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk to you about this fun stuff.
Yes, me too. So thank you. So just to warm up, I would like to ask you. So if you could choose the perfect setting to hang out with other human beings, people you know, or maybe new people, but what would that perfect setting be for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of different places I really enjoy being. But I think in terms of a great place to meet friends, old and new, and this is probably because I'm an American, this is something that we do a lot of, a big bonfire. Those are always a lot of fun, like something that happens around like dusk, so towards the end of the afternoon, as the sun's beginning to set and things starting to cool off. But it's still warm enough to be outside comfortably. Having a big bonfire going, you can like roast marshmallows and you can't really make s'mores in Norway, but you can roast marshmallows, you can roast hot dogs and all that fun stuff over the fire. And that's something that's a lot of fun because it gives you a lot of space to be able to move around. And so you can go from person to person or group to group, and then still find space to be on your own as well if you want to be. And so it's a really great activity. That's great for like events and for meeting folks. So yeah, I would say a bonfire.
Oh, I love it. I just, when you're describing it, I just want to be there. Yeah, and I have seen once, it was on a TV show or a series or something from the States when there was a bonfire, and then they had this silent discotheque, so they were kind of sharing music through.
Oh yeah.
And then they were dancing around the bonfire, but everybody with their headphones on, and it's like, oh, wow, a wonderful thing. Because then the people that want to dance, they can dance, and the other people that want to talk, they can do that. So really, really nice. So, you mentioned that you're American, but you live in Norway. So how is that coming from the States and Norway so different to meet new people and make new friends?
Yeah, the Norwegian Scandinavian culture as a whole is not very conducive to meeting strangers. Or connecting with folks you don't know. And so it's actually one of the benefits of being an American here is that, one, people are naturally curious about why I'm existing in Norway, but also it allows me to be kind of big and bombastic without folks being completely freaked out by it. Because instead of being, oh, this is a weird guy who's going to a social convention, it's, oh, this is an American being American. So immediately it's not just, it's not, oh, what am I supposed to be doing with this person? It's, oh, it's an American trying to talk to me. I guess I can handle that.
So do you think it's easier then to be American, or that...
Here, yeah, I think being an American makes it really easy here, compared to if I wasn't. If I was just a European, because I see Europeans from other regions of the continent be frustrated because they can't break into Scandinavian bubbles. I had a student once describe Northern Europeans as like coconuts. It's been really hard on the outside, and it takes a lot of effort to get through that outer shell, but once you do, it's really sweet. So I think that's a pretty accurate metaphor.
Yeah. It is. I can very much agree on that. Do you think that because you're American, that maybe because we see so many series and we have so much cultural influence from the States, that we are more familiar with the American personality, and that's why it's less frightening, maybe? Or
I think here Norwegians, just like any human on the planet, carry certain stereotypes about folks who are different to them. Yeah. And the American stereotype is that we're loud and friendly. So people are a lot less, they're a lot less scared to engage, versus like, stereotypes of certain people from a different part of Europe is that they're snooty and mean and stuck up. The stereotype for a different group of folks is that they're overdramatic and they're hard to deal with. And another group is that they're really mean and cold and you don't want to talk to them. And another group is, they're really snarky and sarcastic and they'll make fun of you to your face. Like, you don't want to, if those are your stereotypes of these people, you don't necessarily want to engage with them. But if the stereotype is, okay, they're loud but they're friendly, then you're going to be like, yeah, I'll take a chance and talk to that person.
Yeah. I never thought about it in this way. And I think it is, I can see what you're saying there. So, yeah. And what do you think then? Because a lot of people say that, you can talk, it's easy to then do the small talk and engage and so on. But what about coming in and making deeper relationships than just the small talk and going beyond that? Yeah. That's
the same level of difficulty anywhere you go. Because that's not something you can do with one conversation, generally speaking, unless you have a really good connection. It's something that requires seeing someone over and over and over again. And, I think most folks, particularly people, in their, 30s and 20s, are a bit more hesitant to make plans to meet with someone again who they just met, which, is weird to me, because it's like, if the goal is to become friends with someone, then you should want to hang out with them and get to know them. But if you don't want to see them until you get to know them, it becomes one of those weird circles of, well, I don't want to hang out till you try to get to know you. Okay, how do I get to know you? We have to hang out. But you can't hang out until you get to know. And like that, it's this circle of like, you can never make it work. Which is just something that I think millennials and Zoomers have put ourselves into. And so, it requires a lot of connection and working to form those. And sadly, doing a lot of social media conversations afterwards, right? I'm not someone who likes text. Well, I don't like talking on the phone at all. And so texting is the next best thing. But I don't like texting on Snapchat or Instagram or anything like that. I'd rather just be like, let's meet for coffee. Let's just meet in person. I don't want to talk to you online, because then you have to think about every single thing you say and the impact of every single thing and what could happen or how they might take it or this, that, or the other thing. Like, because the idea is that if you text someone, it's going to be a bit more polished than if you see them in person.
Yeah.
Because you have time to look and edit and reflect on what you say. And then timing's also always a thing. Because it's like, well, how long do I wait before I text them again? Or can I double text them? Like, what happens? And so it's a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff, yeah. And when you are meeting in real life, then what is that? Because then you don't get to polish what you're saying. You're just there. That's risky too.
Yeah, but people are a lot more forgiving. Because,
why?
Because you have, unlike text or even phone to an extent, when you're in person, you have body language to go off of. And you can read people's expressions, and you can, I can, with someone's voice and someone's face, if they say something, right, I'm a gay black guy who's super religious, right? Lots of fronts in which I oftentimes get unintentionally insulted everywhere I've lived, but particularly since living in Norway. And I find that, like, if you're watching them and listening to them. You can tell when someone's just like asking a question or saying something because they don't know, versus texting and then you have to ask for clarification, being like, do you know what you said is a bad thing to say, or were you purposely trying to say this?
Yeah.
You know? And luckily I'm assertive enough where I have no problem asking someone point blank, like, did you mean to insult me, or was that an accident?
And what do people say then when you...
I mean, whoever admits to insulting someone to their face. But I mean, I do recognize that, you know, nowadays we're not in a culture of assertiveness. And so having someone who is unafraid to be bold, to say, hey, you said this, what does that mean? Hey, you did this, what were your intentions? That frightens a lot of folks. And it makes a lot of folks, like, refreshingly happy. They're like, oh, I don't have to guess with you. You just tell me.
Yeah, and I think also a lot of... Before I say that, when you ask people, do you find that they actually are ignorant, or that they were not aware, or that they are clumsy?
Yes.
Yeah? Or is it... Yeah.
There aren't a lot of black people in Norway. Norway doesn't have a lot of practicing Christians. Norway is really bad at handling queer issues, just in general, just to be point blank, without getting too into it. It's very much a place of tolerance and not necessarily acceptance. And those are, two very different things. And so, folks just don't realize what is or isn't okay to say. And unlike the U.S., where you end up with folks who would then just not say anything, right? Because the U.S., we don't want to offend anyone else, right? So it's, I would just not say anything and stay in my ignorance, and we'll just talk about the weather and nothing else, and that's that, and we'll stay in our own separate worlds, because I'm too afraid of what would happen if I say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes there are a lot of folks who flip out and be like, how dare you say this, and start flipping tables and not realizing, this person's never been exposed to this before, and perhaps they have no idea. And it's not something someone's going to Google on their own unless they have an interest in it. Here, people are a lot less afraid to just say something that's wrong. Part of that could be that they don't know it's wrong, right?
Yeah.
And part of that is like, this may be my only chance to ask this question for my entire life, so I'm just going to ask it, because if I don't ask it now, I may never get to ask it, and that kind of thing.
But it's so... I think what you're saying is so profound, and it's this thing also that we are so afraid of stepping on somebody's toes or being politically incorrect or incorrect, that actually generates an isolation and disconnect between human beings, and that maybe it is better to stir some emotion, but that emotion at least is some kind of connection and possibility to build a bridge rather than the total disconnect.
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, right? The American way, it prevents a lot of good conversations from happening, but it also makes everyone feel a part of the community. Right? No one ever feels no one's ever made to feel like, well, I mean, of course there are people who feel as if they're made to feel like they're outside. Yeah. But, right, it's, even though I know we're not having this touchy conversation, and they know we're not having this touchy conversation, we're both coexisting here, and we're having a good time talking about the weather or food or whatever, sports or whatever common things we have between us. And we both can feel like we're equally American, even though we're so totally different. I don't feel that same way here in Europe. I feel like it's, oh, well, you're less of a human because you have these opinions. I don't feel that way in the U.S. It's becoming that way, but I don't feel that is the predominant culture in the U.S. like it is here.
Wow, it's so interesting what you're saying. I could keep on talking with you for a long time. And this podcast is like, we said 10, 15 minutes, and we have already been speaking for 15 minutes.
Yes.
But we are also talking about doing in-depth podcasts and talk for a longer time. So I will probably come back and ask you to come back again.
If the people want it, I'm more than happy to talk in depth.
Yeah, because this is so interesting, and you're giving so interesting perspectives on these things, and I think they're important to talk about, because we are all humans, and how we connect and how we talk to each other and how we coexist and live together. It's really interesting to see perspectives and to have a chance to reflect upon ourselves and how we interact with others.
Yeah, I agree. Having this space where we can sit and intentionally think about connection is important.
Yeah.
Because I think we take for granted that connections will be formed, and we don't stop and think that, connections take work, and connections are an avid part of the human experience like anything else.
Yes.
So we sit and talk about politics, we sit and talk about faith, we sit and talk about art. Why don't we sit and talk about connection? And so these are important conversations to be having.
They are. So for today, thank you very much, André. And I will ask you to come back later.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bye.
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 We hope you enjoyed listening. Please check out our platform at www.hänga.fun, and we hope to see you there.